Good morning, students. Welcome to English Kumar Bharti class. Children, today we'll be seeing a lesson from Unit 4, that is 4.2, The Storyteller. Children, The Storyteller is actually a short story written by Sakhi, that is H. Munro, about a bachelor who tells a group of children a very interesting story when they were traveling through a train. On this train ride, there were 3 children with their aunt. I'll specify there were 2 niece and 1 nephew. And they were just irritating aunt with numbers of irrelevant, foolish questions. And in order to divert their attention, the aunt told them a story. But the children were not convinced by her story. So a fellow passenger, that is a bachelor, or I can say a stranger person to this group, began to tell the children a different story about a girl who was horribly good. Yes, children, horribly good. Now I know you might be imagining that how can someone be horribly good, because either he or she can have positive quality, or either he or she could have a negative quality. But here the bachelor says that the girl in the story, the main character in the story, is horribly good. So we are going to see more on it in the actual story. So he started narrating a story about a horribly good girl who is invited by a prince in his garden, that is Prince Garden, and then ate by a wolf. What exactly the story is, we are gonna see in the lesson. At the end of the story, the aunt is not attracted or impressed, I can say, by the story, but the children found the story very, very beautiful. So this was about the summary. Let us see the actual story. I'll be reading the paragraph and we'll explain the story line by line simultaneously. So here I go. I'm on page number 85. 4.2, The Storyteller. It was hot afternoon and the railway carriage was correspondingly sultry, and the next stop was at Templecombe, nearly an hour ahead. Now, children, this story tells that the place from where they were boarding the train, where the character of the story are boarding the train, it was 1 hour away from Templecombe. Now you might be thinking, what is Templecombe? Templecombe is the name of a village in Somerset, England. Here carriage means a railway coach or compartment, correspondingly means similarly, and sultry means hot and humid climate. So here in the railway carriage, the temperature was very hot and humid. As it was hot afternoon, it was not pleasant. Let me read ahead. The occupant of the carriage were a small girl and a smaller girl and a small boy. Their aunt occupied one corner seat, and the further corner seat on the opposite side was occupied by a bachelor who was stranger to their party. But the smaller girl, yes, 1 minute, and the small boy emphatically occupied the compartment. Here emphatically means in a forceful way. Yes. And what is meaning of bachelor? Bachelor is a person who is not married, my dear children. Okay. Both the aunt and the children were conversational in a limited, persistent way, reminding one of the attention of a housefly that refuses to be discouraged. So here I was telling you that who were the occupant, the members sitting in that carriage. On one corner seat the aunt was sitting, and in the further corner seat on the opposite side was the bachelor sitting, who was a stranger person to this party. Okay. And the children were sitting in a very forceful manner. Yes. So there was a slight conversation between them, the children and the aunt, and the conversation continued firmly. Means maybe they were putting their own points or discussing something, and all of them they were firm in their decision. But the aunt remark, let's see ahead. Most of the aunt remark seems to begin with don't, and nearly all the children's remark began with why. The bachelor said nothing out aloud. Children, it even happen in our life. Many a times elderly people try to inculcate all kind of good habits, and children telling them not to do so, not to do this, you should behave properly, or I can say they give some kind of instructions. Yes, in the same way, when these children were creating mess by their stupidest thing, the aunt was warning them by using the word don't. For example, don't, Cyril, don't. And when she used to say don't, the children used to cross question the aunt that why. Let us see ahead. Don't, Cyril, don't, exclaimed the aunt as the small boy began smacking the cushion of the seat, producing a cloud of dust at each blow. Now children, Cyril is the name of that boy. Okay. There is one boy among those 4 people, and what was he doing? He was just striking, smacking the cushion, due to which a cloud of dust was getting created at each blow. Now to divert his attention, aunt says, "Come and look out of the window," she added. She insisted him to go near the window and look outside, my dear children. The child moved reluctantly. Here reluctantly means in a very unwilling manner. They were not willingly trying to see outside the window, but as aunt was pressurizing them, the child, that is Cyril, started seeing outside the window. Okay, the moment he sees outside the window, he looked outside and he started questioning aunt. Why are those sheep being driven away out of that field? He asked. Now after looking at the window, as I said, after looking outside the window, he must have seen something, and then he questioned his aunt that why were those sheep, means outside the window he saw sheep. Okay, and he asked why had they been driven out from that field, and at that time she said that maybe she expected that those sheep were being driven to another field where there were more grass. Okay, see that line on page number 85. But there is I expect they are being driven to another field where there is more grass, asked the aunt weakly. Now here weakly means in a weak voice. Why? Because even the aunt was not confident about the answer which she was giving to Cyril. So she was not confident enough. Just for the sake of answering, she answered. On hearing this, Cyril said, "But there is lot of grass in that field," protested the boy. Means, children, the boy here protested that the grass over there was enough. So why there was need to move the ship into the another grass? Okay. To this, the ant replied, "Perhaps the grass in the other field is better," suggested the ant fatuously. Now here fatuously means foolishly, because she herself was answerless. But in order to keep Cyril's attention diverted outside, she was giving ridiculous answer, my dear children. So Cyril was questioning Ant and was irritating her by asking that why was it better. Further he asked, Cyril asked, "See, why is this better?" came the swift, inevitable question. Here inevitable means unavoidable. Immediately, he asked that why is this grass better? How you know that this grass is better? Why is this better? Come on, tell me. Why is this better? Means simply he was irritating Ant just because Ant has asked him to see outside the window. Yes? And this time the ant was answerless. She doesn't have the answer of this question. And in order to maintain his I can say his attention outside, what did she say? She further said, "Oh, look at those cows," exclaimed the ant. It means she just wanted to divert his attention. Further she said, "Nearly every field along line had contained cows or bullock." But she spoke as though she was drawing attention to a rarity. Now over here, as I told you, that she just wanted to maintain Cyril's attention outside so that he doesn't get diverted inside and do all the foolish thing the way he was doing, like irritating other passenger or smacking the pillows. So she said that just look at the cows. Why is the grass in the other field better? As Cyril, which we have already seen. And in order to avoid the answer of this, what is she doing? She is diverting Cyril's attention outside the window and asking Cyril to see the cows and the buffalo. But Cyril was least interested, to see, because Cyril was thinking that what good or great thing is she trying to show me? This is not just a rare thing. Rarity means a rare thing. I have already seen, in my life, I have seen cows and buffaloes many times in my life. So what is new to see here? Let us see further. And he asked, just forget that, just tell me why is the grass better in the other field and not here? Yes. Let us see ahead. The frown on the bachelor's face was deepening to a scowl. Now, the bachelor, who was stranger to this group, was getting irritated. He was getting angry after listening to silly questions of those children and unsatisfactory answers of that lady, that is the children's aunt. He was a hard, unsympathetic man, the aunt decided in her mind. She was utterly unable to come to any satisfactory decision about the grass in other field. Now, maybe when the bachelor was getting angry, the aunt has noticed that he is getting irritated, and so she thought that maybe this man is very, cruel type, unkind type of person. He is not trying to understand that they are children, and of course they are going to ask these questions, and even I can't answer to this irrelevant or that is stupid questions of my niece. Let us see ahead. The small girl created a diversion by beginning to recite, "On the road to Mandalay." She only knew the first line, but she put her limited knowledge to the fullest possible use. She repeated the line over and over again in a dreamy but resolute and very audible voice. It seemed to the bachelor as though someone had had a bet with her that she could not repeat the line aloud 2000 times without stopping. Whoever it was who had made the wager was likely to lose his bet. So, children, the smaller girl, here the smaller girl, as I told you, there are two girls, one is the small girl and one is the smaller girl. Okay, so the smaller girl, she was repeatedly saying this line, that is, "On the road to Mandalay," in a various way, which was irritating the bachelor. Here the aunt just wanted to make the children quiet. She then insisted children that please listen to a story, as they were creating mess and they were irritating the other passengers. Okay, see now, the bachelor thought that she's just going on repeating one line, that is, "On the road to Mandalay." Apart from that, she was not saying anything, she was not reciting anything else. So the bachelor is trying to say as if she's not gonna lose the bet, even if someone puts a bet with her that speak this line 2000 times, then she is not gonna stop, she is gonna recite this line without stopping. Okay, and in order to avoid all this mess, all this disruption, the aunt says, let us see what she said. "Come over here and listen to a story," said the aunt. When the bachelor had looked twice at her, means the bachelor might be have given angry look to that girl, smaller girl, who was reciting that line. So maybe he might have seen her angrily twice, and the aunt might have noticed, and in order to make other passengers comfortable, especially the stranger in that compartment, the aunt tried to divert their attention and ask them to come, look over here, look to me, and I'm gonna tell you a story. Okay, the children moved listlessly towards the end of the carriage. Evidently, her reputation as a storyteller did not rank high in their estimation. So, children, this para says that no doubt they moved towards her to listen, but they moved very unwillingly. They were not, convinced. They were not interested in hearing Aunt's story. Okay. They were not satisfied by the way of she narrating. Let us see ahead. In a low, confidential voice, interrupted at frequent interval by loud, petulant questioning from her listener, she began an unenterprising and deplorably uninteresting story about a little girl who was good and made friends with everyone on account of her goodness, and was finally saved from a mad bull by a number of rescuers who admire her moral character. So what was the story about? The aunt narrated the story about a girl, and in that story she is saying that she was saved. Okay, how she was saved? She was she was attacked by a mad bull, and she was saved just because she was good. So here the children who were not at all interested or was not in a mood to hear the story, they were not satisfied, though they heard the story, but they were not satisfied with the story. In short, I can say they were not impressed with the story. Okay, they were like, in between also, when she was narrating, they were asking very irrelevant question that why is this girl doing that, or why how was that girl. Still somehow the lady, that is the aunt, succeeded in completing the story, but she was not successful in impressing them. So let us see what was the questions put up by the children to their aunt. Wouldn't they have saved her if she hadn't been good? Demanded the bigger of the small girl. It was exactly the question that the bachelor had wanted to ask. Now to this, the aunt said, well, yes, admitted the aunt lamely, means in a weak voice, that yes, they might. The story was that the girl was attacked by a mad bull, and number of rescuers, helpers came to save the girl because the girl was good in her character. So on hearing this, the bigger of the small girl asked that as she was good, so the people came to rescue her or to save her, and if she weren't good, then maybe these people won't have come. So on this question, the aunt said yes, but she said in a weak voice because she herself was not confident that whether the helpers would have come to save that story girl or not. Okay, now this was the question which was even arising in the bachelor mind. Of course, as the bachelor was too a member of that party, so he too have heard that story from the aunt, and so even he wanted to ask the same question. And as the aunt did not have a confident answer on this, so she said yes, but I don't think they would have run quite so fast to help her if she had not liked her so much. So what did the aunt added? That yes, maybe the helpers would have come, but they would have not come so fast if she wasn't good. Maybe they might have come slow if that story girl wasn't so good in her moral character. Okay, the answer, somehow the aunt tried to answer them. But let us see the feedbacks given by the children on hearing this story. So let us see ahead. It is the stupidest story I have ever heard, said the bigger of the small girl with immense conviction. So dear children, what is the bigger of the small girl? Means the bigger girl out of those two girls. What is the bigger girl telling? That this is the stupidest, this is the foolish story I have ever heard in my life. Let us see what Cyril says. I didn't listen after a first bit. It was so stupid, said Cyril. What Cyril says, I just heard the initial part. After that, I did not hear to the story. What a humiliating comments they were giving to their aunt story. And the aunt, who was unable to satisfy the children with the story, who narrated the story, the children, without thinking for a minute, gave direct reaction that the story was very stupid. Let us see the reaction given by the smaller girl. So I am on page number 87. The smaller girl made no actual comment on the story, but she had long ago recommends a murmured repetition of her favorite line. Means she did not comment only. She was just going on and on singing her favorite line. Now what was the favorite line of this girl? The favorite line was on the road to Mandalay. Means she was going on reciting this line even when the aunt was narrating the story. That means that she is trying to show that at least the bigger girl has heard the entire story. At least Cyril has heard the first initial part of the story. But whereas I am concerned, I have not heard a single word of your story because I was just busy reciting my favorite line, that is on the road to Mandalay. Yes, moving ahead. You don't seem to be success as a storyteller, said the bachelor suddenly from the corner. Now, as I said, even the bachelor, who was the unknown person, even he was present in the compartment and he too have heard the story. So even he commented to the aunt that you are not a successful storyteller. On hearing the comment from the bachelor, the aunt bristled in instant defense at this unexpected attack. So the aunt bristled means she got angry because this was unexpected answer. Of course, she can expect this. Of course, she can expect this kind of answers from her niece and from her nephew. But a stranger commenting her so bad was a very great humiliation for her. Let us see ahead. It's a very difficult thing to tell stories that children can both understand and appreciate, she said stiffly. Here, stiffly means firmly. So, in defense to her humiliation, what did she say? She said that it is very difficult to tell such a story which children can understand also and they can appreciate also. On this, the bachelor says, "No, I don't agree with you." So, the bachelor immediately says that I do not agree. If the children understand, of course they are going to appreciate. So you are wrong. Let us see ahead what. Perhaps you would like to tell them a story, was the aunt's retort. The aunt immediately asked the stranger because as she was humiliated, as she was insulted, so she asked the stranger, "Why don't you tell a story to these children?" Yes. On this, let us see what happened next. "Tell us a story," demanded the bigger of the small girl. So among the children, the bigger of the small girl also demanded the bachelor to tell them a story. Okay, let us see ahead. "Once upon a time," began the bachelor, "there was a little girl called Bertha who was extraordinarily good." So here extraordinarily good means a one who has all kinds of good quality in her. So finally the bachelor has accepted the challenge, or I can say accepted the proposal given by the bigger girl and the aunt, and he has started narrating the story, and thus the story has begun. That is, once upon a time there lived a girl named Bertha who was extraordinarily good. Okay, going to the next para. "The children momentarily arose, interest began at once to flicker. All stories seemed dreadfully alike, no matter who told them." So the children who were listening, immediately they gave their reaction that, as he started, that all stories are alike and they are not different. Let us see ahead. "She did all she was told. She was always," now this here she means Bertha. Okay, "she was always truthful. She kept her clothes clean, ate milk pudding as though they were jam tarts, learned her lesson perfectly, and was polite in her manners." So the bachelor added that she was extraordinarily good, means she was good in all kinds. She had all good qualities, all kinds of good qualities. She was very truthful, she was very obedient, she was perfect, she was very full of manners. Okay, she used to have her things on time and do her things on time. On hearing this, the children's I can say interest arose, because they were because you can understand children, when you appreciate or when you tell something good about other children to you, means imagine if someone is telling something good about other children to you, of course you will become keen to know that why is she so good, even I want to know. So because of that reason, as the bachelor presented Bertha in such a good and a perfect way, that here the curiosity has arose that how good she was, and if she was good, was she pretty also, means now the children are concerned that maybe she was good in her moral character, but was she good in looks also? So let us see what was the next question put up by the children. Was she pretty? As the bigger of the small girls. So the bigger of the two girls asked, was she pretty? Means now she is desperate to know, no doubt as she was good, but was she pretty also? So the bachelor says, "Not as pretty as any of you," said the bachelor, "but she was horribly good." So immediately the bachelor said, Bertha was not as beautiful as you both, but she was horribly good. Now just imagine, children, I told you in the introduction also that a person can be either positive or can be negative. But here the bachelor is presenting Bertha in a horribly good way, means she was good also and she was horrible also. So these children who are hearing the stories were little confused. Let us see the last paragraph on page number 87 of part 1. There was a way of reaction in favor of the story. The word horrible in connection with goodness was a novelty that commended itself. It seemed to introduce that ring of truth that was absent from the aunt's tale of infant line. Now that word horrible made more curiosity in the children's mind, the ones who were hearing. They wanted to know how she was horribly good, because either she can be good, either she can be horrible. And to create the interest, the bachelor purposely introduced this word in his story. Okay, and on hearing this story narrated by the bachelor, the children was immediately fascinated. Their interest is aroused because they wanted to know, being so perfect, where was she wrong, why was she horrible? All these questions they wanted to know. And my dear children, always remember, when the stories are related with the real life situation, the story becomes more interesting, because here the bachelor is making this story relate to real life, means he was comparing. Okay, of course the story have morals and message, but when you try to inculcate this real life situation, the stories become more fascinating and more interesting. That was about the first part 1 of this lesson, as this lesson has 2 parts. So we are gonna stop here. This was for the day, that is part 1. We will be seeing further story, that is the part 2 of the story, in our next lecture, and in that we are gonna see further that how was Bertha and all things about Bertha in our next part. So till then, please take care. Goodbye. Thank you.